must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Today, thousands and thousands of Africans and many countries in Africa have conflicts. Notably, from Libya, Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and Boko Haram, to Democratic Republic of Congo, of where we have seen a resurgence of the past military and conflicts coming back in that country. Hundreds and hundreds of people have been displaced, killed, maimed, tortured, raped, several of them dying of hunger, starvation, and other natural causes. The fighting seems not to be ending. For the sake of Libya, the Libyan recognized international government is under siege in Tripoli from another faction recognized by Egypt, France, UAE, and other countries. Whereas the one in Tripoli is recognized by the UN, it has been bombarded, has been strangulated, and many millions of Libyans are dying of hunger, lack of water. The water system has been cut off. The bombardment goes on. In Democratic Republic of Congo, we've seen more of active rebel activities returning to the region after some silence has been observed. When we come to Cameroon, we see millions and millions of Amazonians slaughtered. Yet, when you come to Biafra, again millions and hundreds of millions and millions are worried, displaced, tortured by the Buhari regime. Yet again in the north, we see Boko Haram killing, maiming, abducting, and burning down villages in the same Nigeria. When you cross over to Central African Republic, the same is the history that has littered Africa. While all these events are taking shape, Africa is silent. Africa is not making enough efforts to find a solution to what is causing the problems in Libya, in DRC, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, Biafra, and now you add in Khartoum, Sudan. As people die, the people of Africa have no answers, have no solutions. There is nothing to endear to bring an end to the conflicts that have killed Africa. We seem to be new ones manufactured, old ones reignited, encouragement coming from external powers. One power that has been seen in the shadows of all these conflicts, especially the one of Libya that has escalated in the Sahara region of Africa, is France. When you come to Democratic Republic of Congo, the same country is in the shadows. The war can be seen is France. When you come to Cameroon, in the Amazonia, the one behind that has the key to bringing peace is France. Therefore, our question And our question as Africans, why are we silent? Why are we not saying enough is enough of the wars? Thank you.
We were way ahead of them in our civilization. They set out to destroy us. And Berlin Conference put the nail on that coffin. So they gave Djibouti the same sovereignty as the United States. They gave Burundi the same sovereignty as China. They gave Togo. You see, the EU realizes individual little countries, they can't survive on the world stage. So they come together as the European Union. Now picture this now. So they cut up this Africa into the tiny little countries, small economies that could never survive on their own, but gave them the same sovereignty as the big boys. So that way, when the little bitty countries go to the world stage for the purposes of development and discussing trade, they're wannabe boxers who are being thrown into the heavyweight boxing ring every day. How do you put China in the same boxing ring with Eswatini? Eswatini has 1.2 million people. China has 1.4 billion people. And you put them on the same stage and say, go at it, negotiate. Are you with me? Yes. This is insanity of the highest order. How have we allowed this carnage to go on? When Eswatini is thrown in the same boxing ring with China and Eswatini collapses before Eswatini even gets on the stage, the world says, well, Eswatini, what's wrong with you? Why can't you take care of your people? Well, China came in and said, Eswatini, give me all your gold or else. And if Eswatini does not agree, they just go on next door to Lesotho and give Lesotho an extra $1. And if Lesotho doesn't take it, they just jump on to Togo, Central African Republic. It was all by design. 1884. They did something else in addition to chopping us up. They also set out to make the African believe that everything African was bad and undesirable, and everything Western, particularly French and British, was more desirable. We call that the legacy of colonization. Prior to that, they had started long working on the slaves. Make them think everything about them, forget anything about Africa. Where you come from is a horrible place, diseased and dying people, constantly at war with themselves, uncivilized. Cut out any communications with them. You need to just know what we tell you. And we call that the legacy of slavery. So that's where you look at where we are today. 135 years later, a system that was put in place to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated, that Africa is forever exploited, remains in place today, alive and well. And we sit here and we ask ourselves, why isn't Africa moving forward? Why does Africa continue to be taken advantage of? Well, I'll tell you why, very simply. Until Africa comes together as a continent speaking with one voice, one continent, one people, nothing, and I repeat, nothing is gonna change. As individual little African countries, we are wannabe boxers. We will never make it fighting against the heavyweights. We must speak with one voice. Yeah. And this is exactly what our Pan-African leaders wanted to see happen in 1963 when they came together in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. They clearly stated that Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and that African Union was now. They said Africa must speak with one voice. It is the only way for Africa to take its rightful place on the world stage. Sadly, when they went to Addis Ababa in 1963, they were divided. We had two factions, the Casablanca group and the Monrovia group. The Casablanca group were saying Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and African Union now. This was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Only 7. The other 25 of the 32 who attended were the Monrovia group. They were the nationalists. They said, let's go slow. Let's kind of wait on this Pan-African thing. 55 years later, 56 this year, we're still going slow. As if it wasn't bad enough that we were divided up into the tiny little countries that we are today. The gift that Berlin Conference gave us. One other thing that France did between 1958 and 1961 in the name of giving us our independence as African countries. France forced the Francophone, and I hate that terminology. There is no such thing as Francophone, Anglophone. They made it up. But for the purposes of communication, I will use that. 14 of those countries, they said, in order for you to get your independence from us, you must sign this document. You thought they could have found a better name for the document. The document was called the Pact for the Continuation. I repeat, the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. We are talking about giving you independence, but sign this pact for the continuation of colonization in a different format. And I'm going to highlight some of those issues that they said you must agree to if you are going to be independent. Hello. Maybe we need to redefine the meaning of independence for the French. First, France said, you see, you monkeys, you don't know how to manage your money. We're going to demand that you deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Minister of Finance. Under the French Central Bank, under the control of the French Minister of Finance. France is then going to take your 85% bank deposits from each and every one of you. Deposit those funds in the French stock market under the French name. And you may or may not know the returns. Today, as we speak, the latest figures are saying for every 14 billion that France invests in the stock market from Africa, they are realizing upwards of 300 billion in return. Every year in, year out, because of these deposits from the African countries, France is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Now figure it out. For every 14 billion, the returns on the investment are over 300 billion, and they are taking over 500 billion. So in actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in and year out. From us poor people, Africans. Back to the pact. So should you want to access some of your money that you have deposited with France, you have to submit your country's financial returns. And if approved, you get to get it as a loan. You can only access up to 20% of your money year in, year out as a loan at commercial interest rates. Your own money. As if that was not enough. They said all your minerals discovered, yet to be discovered, all your oil discovered, yet to be discovered. France and French companies have the first right of refusal. If there's anything left over that the French companies do not want, your people might have. To this day. They said you will only use the currency that we created for you because you're special Africans. We call it the CFA. there was the Central African CFA and the Western African CFA, same animal. And that France is the only one that can print it for you. 1958, fast forward, they're still printing it for us. And if you start misbehaving, they just stop printing your money, and your country's in trouble. They also said your language of instruction shall be French, whether you like it or not. That France will have military presence in your country, that your military can only be trained by France, that you can only buy military equipment from France, that you cannot have any military alliance with your neighbor, and that in the event of war, your allegiance is only to France. And furthermore, because they have military presence in your country, they can invade you without notice should they feel that the interests of France in your country are being violated.
Teach, sister, teach. Speak on, sister.
Fast forward, 2019, nothing has changed. The same people who have the audacity to tell us that we are poor countries, they are taking trillions out of Africa every year. And what is the African doing? Like an obedient, programmed black man, we just give in. We know the facts, but we just do nothing about it. Now, you have to say some of the fears are real, because if France that has sold you inferior equipment to theirs, France that has trained your military to be inferior to their military, they are now in your country. They can invade you. They have the permission to do so. They can destabilize you. And then one might say, why is it that African leaders haven't done anything about this deplorable situation? Well, let me tell you, my brother and sister, they have tried. Documented to this day, 22 coups where leaders were assassinated. France had something to do with it. The first 7, when they decided they were pulling out of the CFA and that they're going to print their own money, they were assassinated. Every time an African leader has tried to do what's best for their country, they were assassinated. Majority of them aided by France. It's a known fact. And then others, they were just mercenaries who felt that when there was a natural resource discovered in one country, they wanted to create a coup. So while the country is thrown into a civil war, they're siphoning the natural resource. We know of one particular story that had we not known about it, it would have been, oh, there we go again, the Africans. In about 25 years ago, a group of young, rich white kids were having fun in Cape Town. They found out that there was oil in Equatorial Guinea that just been discovered, and they wanted it. So they set out a plan to have a coup in Equatorial Guinea. So while the Guineans are busy fighting a civil war, they will be siphoning the oil. But they made one mistake. There were 2 planes. One was to leave South Africa, stop in Zimbabwe, pick up more ammunition on their way to hunt in Equatorial Guinea. Another plane was taking off in the Caribbean that had this puppet diaspora who was supposed to be the next president. Mugabe wondered why such young people needed such powerful ammunition to go hunt in Equatorial Guinea. In doing his research further, he found out that this was a coup in the making. He allowed them to land in Zimbabwe. They loaded their plane, and just before takeoff, they were all arrested. The ringleader of that group was none other than the son of the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher. She had to fly to Zimbabwe and paid handsomely to get her son out. The last one of those prisoners left Zimbabwe about 6-7 years ago. Had these young people succeeded, it would have been another coup. There you go, the Africans again. Such, my brothers and sisters, is the story of your Africa. They don't do coups anymore. They simply create instability. So when you hear of an instability in an African country, ask yourself, what is really going on? Because what they are telling you is really going on is just a shiny object. The real issue is over here. And you need to stop before you start being used as an instrument of your own self-destruction.
Today, thousands and thousands of Africans and many countries in Africa have conflicts. Notably, from Libya, Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and the Boko Haram, to Democratic Republic of Congo, of where we have seen a resurgence of the past military and conflicts coming back in that country. Hundreds and hundreds of people have been displaced, killed, maimed, tortured, raped, several of them dying of hunger, starvation, and other natural causes. The fighting seems not to be ending. For the sake of Libya, the Libyan recognized international government is under siege in Tripoli from another faction recognized by Egypt, France, UAE, and other countries. Whereas the one in Tripoli is recognized by the UN, it has been bombarded, has been strangulated, and many millions of Libyans are dying of hunger, lack of water. The water system has been cut off. The bombardment goes on. In Democratic Republic of Congo, we've seen more of active rebel activities returning to the region after some silence has been observed. When we come to Cameroon, we see millions and millions of Amazonians slaughtered. Yet, when you come to Biafra, again millions and hundreds of millions and millions are worried, displaced, tortured by the Buhari regime. Yet again in the north, we see Boko Haram killing, maiming, abducting, and burning down villages in the same Nigeria. When you cross over to Central African Republic, the same is the history that has littered Africa. While all these events are taking shape, Africa is silent. Africa is not making enough efforts to find a solution to what is causing the problems in Libya, in DRC, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, Biafra, and now you add in Khartoum, Sudan. As people die, the people of Africa have no answers, have no solutions. There is nothing to endear to bring an end to the conflicts that have killed Africa. We seem to be new ones manufactured, old ones reignited, encouragement coming from external powers. One power that has been seen in the shadows of all these conflicts, especially the one of Libya that has escalated in the Sahara region of Africa, is France. When you come to Democratic Republic of Congo, the same country is in the shadows. The war can be seen is France. When you come to Cameroon, in the Amazonia, the one behind that has the key to bringing peace is France. Therefore, our question as Africans, why are we silent? Why are we not saying enough is enough of the wars? Thank you.
Very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. It is the Friday edition of Good Morning Africa, and good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us from across the world. We know we have viewers from all over the place, so thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm joined by none other than Dr. David Matanga himself. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Miriam.
How are you today?
How are you?
Very good.
It's a good Friday, nice Friday today for us to wake up. Most of those who are waking up in the morning in Europe, in America, those who are still sleeping, we are up. We're already up on the subject of Africa, and we talk about Africa. This morning, we shall be talking about Kenya. Is Kenya a nation angry at itself? Or is Kenya poisoned by corruption? Why I brought this topic is very simple. You look at the headlines, you wake up in the morning, look at these headlines. These headlines bring you more misery than hope. When you look at the reality which is on the ground, the reality is different also. But the headlines in the newspapers looks like newspapers have been hired. When you look at Catholic priest killed in a cult ritual, are we angry at ourselves? Can you leave your phone on a bus and somebody brings it for you? How many people in Kenya can do that? How many people in Kenya can find a wallet of a person and don't open it and bring it? How many people? And these are the questions that we want to answer this morning, Miriam, without fear or favor of any favor or intimidation. We are ourselves, we are in this society. This society is mutilating us. This society is destroying us. Where are the morals gone? Are we angry at each other? MPs stand up and they say, we don't want this, even when we have not read it. Are we angry? You see, that syndrome of a poisoned mind, is there a problem here? Is there a problem here? A poisoned mind. Who has poisoned the people? Someone corruptly has destroyed this country. People have destroyed this morale of this country. Are people poisoned already towards a journey to nowhere? Look at we do sports. We do very good sports. We have a flag flying so high. Oh ye, Kipchoge. We come in the Ministry of Sports, a PS and his accountants. It's not the minister. It is not the minister. I think we should not shift blame every minute. There is a crisis in enemy. It is the PS. Why is the principal secretary is an accounting officer to pay Matsanga's bill if I'm going to do 10,000 kilometers marathon in Johannesburg? It's not the minister. We made a constitution, and the Kenyan constitution is very clear. The people who go there are not politicians. They are not elected on a vote. And therefore, there is a need to change the constitution. Then you can harass this minister and say you have political responsibility. But now we have a problem. Ministers are carrying political responsibility of the jobs of PS. The Minister of Sports, for example, has lost 2 ministers and 1 PS. 2 ministers have gone. The other one stole pajamas, what, everything. People stole. He was sacked. He was caught. The same PS escaped, cleaned. The second minister left. Is it the problem of the ministers who come into the docket? The answer is no. The answer lies in what you'll do when this BBI report arrives near your doorsteps. What you'll do when this BBI report comes on your phone, ready for you to say as a Kenyan, hallelujah, I am not involved. I'm not going to listen to this because I want a minister who is accountable to the parliament. Miriam, the parliament are harassing a wrong person. You know why? He's a technocrat. He's not an accounting officer. We said in our constitution of Republic of Kenya, we said we shall appoint, the president will appoint 22 ministers, not more than, but they should not be part of the parliament. Have you seen where we erred? Where have you seen an island within an island and going nowhere? Have I gone too fast?
It's okay. We are,
Can I go?
we are with you, yes.
An island within an island and going nowhere. That's what the ministries are. Ministries in Kenya are islands within an island, but it has nowhere to go. A minister in Kenya, by the constitution, is supposed to give guidelines, but not to go and pay a hotel bill in Johannesburg or Cape Town. No, Jermaine, let's be very honest. You don't expect a minister to go and pay bed and breakfast where the native bowlers in Johannesburg. There must be an accounting officer, a sports officer who accompany these people who should be fired today. A person, a ferry kills people. The managing director, the board of directors, the engineer there. Thank you very much, President Uhuru Kenyatta. Take them home.
They're already home.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, in this ministry, if I were Amina Mohammed, I would first of all contravene every law and tell my all accounting officers to go and sort with the Public Service Commission. Interdict them. That's it. You know it will be contravening the law, but you take the bull by the horns. You say you were supposed to reimburse to this bus money to go and pay for this accommodation, for tickets, for this. What happened? Boss, I've recommended to the Public Service Commission to redeploy you somewhere else if they find you fit.
So, Doctor, maybe a lot of our viewers might not be understanding the backdrop of this story. Is it the case of...
No. I'm bringing that one as a story to why is the nation annoyed with itself. I asked you a question. Can someone find your phone and bring it back to you? I'm asking you, Miriam. In Nairobi, let's be honest. Can somebody find a wallet on the chair in a bar and bring it back to you? The answer is the one, the silence you and I have now. In Ethiopia, your phone can be brought back to you. In Rwanda, your phone can be brought back to you. In Uganda, it's impossible. In Kenya, it's impossible. Because everybody has become a thief. We have become thieves. We have corrupted ourselves into the minds of our own children. You have people killing a priest for a ritual. Why don't you go and do a ritual with a cow? Why are you killing a priest? Hallelujah. Why? We have a problem with ourselves. We are angry. The MPs from Mount Kenya yesterday, including the minister who has sold maize, called Kiyanjuri. He was plotting in Mombasa Sarova Hotel with Kionyi. They sat there talking about President Uhuru all night. I took even the pictures. I saw them. So they plotted yesterday. They came. Yet he has sold maize. You know, he brought in maize here. The president has not sacked him. I told you people that the cabinet of Republic of Kenya is in a sick bay. You know a sick bay? Isolated sick bay. The entire cabinet is in sick bay. If I were President Uhuru Kenyatta, the 2 years left, I entered the Jerusalem temple alone. Yeah, man. Jesus did not enter with disciples. Muse, if you wait to enter with disciples, we shall meet somewhere where God has prepared. Don't enter with disciples. Take a stand, Mr. President.
No prisoners.
No prisoners. Chianjuri was plotting on Saturday in a hotel. I was there. I saw them. They sat for 4 hours to plot to destabilize the BBI. Even when, for us, we haven't seen the BBI. Of course, he's a cabinet minister. He has seen the BBI. And yesterday you saw he was caught with a camera. It is here. The story is here. A cabinet minister who sold us maize, who allowed maize from Uganda to be imported by his cronies, whom we know. And the Ugandan maize is I can show you list invoice by invoice. I wish the president gave some of us powers to publish these documents. Some of these people would not be in talking and running around with new shirts and new shoes, telling us they are worth. Are we a nation at itself? Look at the Chief Justice Maraga. Let's go. You sit down as Judicial Service Commission. Hallelujah. You go and select rotten judges. Rotten in manners, in quality, in service, in humanity. And guess what? You send a rotten list to the president. Then you see a rotten lawyer like Mr. Ogenda on television. A fixer, Mr. Fixer Ogenda on television saying there is this, the president is violating this. Why should the president of Republic of Kenya waste time and money to appoint rotten people who are going to be thrown out within a month? Remember, the head of state is the commander-in-chief. He gets intelligence, even what Matsanga was eating last night, or what Miriam is doing. He's a head of state. So he has seen what the problem is. It is time the president takes a stand. And that is very good on Maraga, on the judiciary. Either they remove the list and they get us good judges, or Mr. Maraga, walk home yourself. Because Maraga himself is incompetent. And I will always say the words, you wait for me to slaughter me when I arrive your court. But I will not change my language. Mr. Maraga is not corrupt, but he is incompetent. nice English word. It is better you do something, but someone to call you are incompetent. It means, even when your child is dying, you will be incompetent. You can't do first aid to resuscitate her or him before you arrive at the hospital. What a shame. A hollow chief justice of a country submits a list of rotten 40 people. Few of them, very few, about 5-6 people like Justice Mumbi. Those are good people. That's very good. But the rest, the rest want to go to court of appeal so that they cut down like a justice, the one during elections who used to cut us down. You know, there is one called who was taken to Machakos. Have you noticed that since he went to Machakos, the number of cases that are now being won in this court are high? What's the name of that judge?
Is it Lenaula?
No. Lenaula is in the Supreme Court. This is a judge from Siaya. The famous judge. He cut the cases where is Orengo's relative. That judge used to, the whole of Nairobi City was going to have a bunch of homeless, of state of free slaves out of free justice. Onduga. Oh. That's my friend. I don't know when I reach his face one day. I don't think he will even decide. I will just have to tell him I've gone to jail. I will come back. So look at this, Miriam. It's the nation angry with itself. Now, madam, I leave you to come in there. Are you, don't you see? Your children come back from school. The stories that the children tell you when you're a parent at home and the children come to tell you the stories they saw at school. It's not the story that we used to tell our parents. Our parents could tell you to narrate what you saw at school. But your children these days, when the children, those who have younger children like you, I believe your child could surprise you with a story that you never expected a child of 4 years to tell you. And they say, Mom, and then all of you in the sitting room look at each other and say, hey, where did this come from? This is happening in this community. This is happening in Africa. And it is happening in Kenya. Is Kenya hungry with itself? Anything that the government proposes, anything that everybody proposes, people go on social media, they pour venom on you without even reasoning. You take the case of that ministry. The man to be harassed, to be sacked, is from the PS. The PS in any ministry is accounting officer. And therefore, the accounting officer must always make sure that the money has gone. The accounting officer takes to the minister. It's the accounting officer who knows how much money is on the account for the ministry. The minister might not even know how much money they have. Because all this money pays salaries, it pays everything, it does so many things, it hires a plane. For example, Kipchoge. A plane was hired from Eldoret up to Mombasa for that, which is normal. It's a good sign. Kenya's ministry, which gives Kenya a flying flag, is the Ministry of Sports.
That is very true.
And that ministry should be beyond Caesar's woman, wife. It should be shining. Not to have these problems.
Yes, it brings a lot of glory to the country.
Yeah, it brings glory to this nation.
The Ministry of Sports, yes.
But you can't have a man, PS. I cannot blame the minister because this minister is just At least Amina went in a few months ago, and the ministry seemed to be, she's always with prayers, she's even dancing, sukuti, dancing what? She's always there as a mother. She has tried better than men. Men who even wear these Turkish suits and they are there. They wear suits instead of going down with the people who to give them morale. They are busy also in the pavilion watching.
Well, Echesa tried with
belly
dancers.
Yeah, but the PS failed Echesa.
From Pakistan.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
The PS misled Mr. Echesa to bring women who can dance ballet. You see, PS, if you have a PS of that nature who misleads you and tells you to go and bring women to dance.
Well, we have the same women here, even from the Indian community here in Kenya. Who can
Why don't we nurture the India? It's the Ministry of Culture. Why can't we culture the Indian community, which is tribe number 45 in Kenya? And they start dancing for us, belly.
Because it's a cultural thing for
Yes, for Kenya.
You could harness that.
Because they will be dancing, and then at night in the nightclub, we can talk Swahili. But you cannot bring Hindu and the Singhs and the Pakistanis, whom we don't talk what? Kausha, Marahaba, Karusha, what? This one with the Indians in Kenya, you talk Swahili. So if you have a PS who advises you to collect women from Pakistan, it is that accounting institution, administrative institution, that the ministry, for this ministry to wake up and work well, I believe if I were President Uhuru Kenyatta, first clean the whole
ministry.
So
in this case,
not the minister, because the minister has fallen into the hands of cartel. There are cartels, sports pesa. Tell me.
We have sports pesa.
It runs there. Have you noticed that? And it's this PS who is always with these Mungos, are they called Mungos? The rich guys of sports. You find him everywhere. Me, I'm not keeping quiet. Because if we keep quiet, Kenya is going war. In hotels, fixing. What do you fix? What are you fixing? What are you fixing in these hotels meetings? Kickbacks.
Kickbacks.
Yes.
But in this case, maybe the back does not stop with the minister or what?
How can the minister? The minister has no authority to sack a PS.
That lies with the president.
With the president.
So they're appointing
under the Public Service Commission. The minister in a ministry is let me tell you, is just a policy guidance. It's like a torch. She guides, or he guides the policy and says, this is what money must be paid to the people. Okay? It must be to the people. Pay the money. There are guidelines on how you pay native ballers before they leave Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Where were these people before these women left to go to South Africa?
And that is why I wanted our viewers to understand the background of this story, what Dr. Matsanga is talking about. The Kenyan national team for the volleyball team has been stuck. They're still in South Africa in a hotel because payments have not been done. And it's quite a shame. I was reading it yesterday. So the hotel in South Africa has refused to release the team go because payments have not been done in their stay there. So that is where we're having this conversation this morning. And that is where Dr. Matsanga is coming from, in case you're wondering what we are talking about. So.
And then we are also talking about a nation is angry with itself. Don't lose that point. Yes. It's not this. This is a case study. Yes. One of them.
Yes.
Another case study is MPs from, without even reading the document, they are reading rumors and they are angry with themselves. They say we shall shoot it down because it has Raila Odinga. You hear that? Because for you, you might not be knowing these things. But that's what they said yesterday.
Well, it's been quite an open secret.
Yes. That it has Raila Odinga. And that this Kioni A man who lost, who even couldn't vote for himself. You remember? He was a deputy president running mate.
From Davadi.
Yeah. He was 5 hours, they sat in Sarova Hotel in a corner plotting to destabilize Uhuru Kenyatta political backyard. I'm honest. Then what? Even if you tell me to leave, I'll leave. Mama, what? You go to foreign affairs, same mistakes. What do we do now? Surely, it's the nation annoyed with itself. Go there. You know there is a Somali judge. Then you carry your good document with good English language to submit to him to slaughter you. Are you not angry with yourself? Can't you stand and say, excuse me? Excuse me. I'm not filing my documents here because I am a Kenyan Attorney General and you are a Somali judge. I am not putting my documents here. I've gone back on the next flight. Let's see each other in hell or heaven. That's why Jomo Kenyatta was able to fight in Mau Mau. That's why Nyerere was able to get independence. That's why Jomo Kenyatta, Obote, Nyerere, Sekuture, Nasa, Nkrumah, Amira Cabral, Samora Machel, Patrice Lumumba stood for these countries. But if you have people, you know the butcherman does not like your cow, and you take your cow to him and say, keep it for some few minutes. What will you do? You will find when he has eaten it with the skin, because he's angry with it. Every ministry in this country is in sick bay. Every prestator in this country is in sick bay. You are the managing director of a ferry company. Take a picture that your children are on the ferry crossing because you have a very posh house across the ocean. And then the stopper is not there. Can't you wake up as the managing director and go and check on this stopper? Why it is not working? The equipment could be only 1 million shillings or 2 million shillings for the motor to roll back and down. And then you wait for people to die. Even where are the safeguards, the jackets? Where are they? There is no ferry in the United Kingdom. In nowhere. I swear, nowhere. Even the shortest distance here, between here and that place down there, no ferry can allow you to go there without wearing that jacket.
The life jacket, yes.
Where did we go wrong? Why are we quarreling against ourselves?
We've become very complacent, Doctor, now that you brought up even that question of ferry, and I'm happy that the management has...
But that is why, Miriam, that's why I brought this topic. Because I asked you a cardinal question. How many of us can return a phone which is not yours? When you find a phone left in a restaurant, can you return it? You find a wallet on the seat, left on the seat, and you are going to sit there. Can you call the manager and say, there is a wallet here? Without you calling, without you looking through the wallet. Why? Oh my God, things have gone wrong. Your child comes from school and tells you a story that you wouldn't even want to hear. Oh, Mama, I saw Mrs. So-and-so kissing. I'm telling you, it's like children of 3 years. He says, because even now the women kiss, they kiss. The women kiss their fellow teachers in front of these boys. So, you know, these small boys and the girls, they pretend as if they are writing while they are watching there. And she comes home and shocks you as a parent and says, Mama, I saw Mrs. Kafi was kissing. And you said, oh, these are some of the words These are some of the words that those days we were not even supposed to mention it in our tongues. The mother would pull your, you know what? The mother would pull your ears. This is a Friday. We are not talking like television. We are now talking like parents. It's a Friday chat. Yes, Miriam, you are developing a point. Over to you.
Yes, indeed. But I was just saying, in the case of the ferry at the Mombasa ferry, President Kenyatta did very well in firing that and putting up a new management, because I think those people, first of all, they should be held liable for that accident that happened, that saw the mother and her daughter lose their lives there, because that was negligence. So somebody should sue them for that. But it's good that they're gone. So perhaps now that will be a lesson, a painful one for that, especially for the family, for the rest, for the new upcoming management and the people who will be there, and other people who have the responsibility of making sure that the public is safe in this country. They'll take that as a lesson to make sure that this does not repeat itself, either in the ferry or even on our roads. It's an accident that can be, avoided, should be avoided. So that was a good move by the government, and I'm happy that those people are gone.
First of all, it is sad, but the president took a step, because the Ministry of Ferry is the appointing authority of the parastatal chair. Mm-hmm. So he decided, which the Minister of Transport himself, Mr. Macharia, has come under scrutiny of so many papers.
Somebody was even complaining. Where was it? Over the weekend, I was
Yes.
having a group of friends, and everybody was complaining about the Minister of Transport and the laxity and all these crazy things you see under the Ministry of Transport. And people are asking, where is this person? Where is the CS for Transport, Mr. Macharia? And why there seems to be a lot of laxity in this very important ministry in the country?
It is because people have the patronage has taken over merit. Patronage. That's it. Everybody is playing patronage. If you find this PS of transport, he behaves like more or less a younger man, yet he's in a very responsible position.
It's a very important ministry.
Ministry that flies our flag. The flag of this nation, the heart of this nation. And you are an accounting officer. You cannot accept this stupidity to be in anybody who is doing sports in Kenya. And other people in Africa hear about Kenyan netballers, and moreover, they are not men, they are women. Being harassed by South African men who want women, because they will see them. Our netballers are very beautiful. Yes, Kenyan women, when they are in South Africa, there's a very wide difference between Mars and the moon. You can see the beauty of the Kenyan women, shining tall foot netballers, compared to South African heavy giants bananas that you can roll. These are some of the things we must protect our people. The ministry cannot have this type of administrative officers, this type of accounting officers. You can't tell me the minister should go and pay hotel bill, surely. For the minister to pay a hotel bill.
The ministry officials are supposed to be doing that.
Yes, they are officials. So you trace back this official. Who are these? If the PS did not sanction this money, where was he? Where was he? Was he doing sports pesa? Betting. There is another one called Betting.
They're not there anymore, Betting.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Matiang. May you live longer, Mr. Matiang, for hammering sports pesa and Betting. Betting. They have turned this kingdom a kingdom of evil. Gamblers like Ocampo.
It was becoming, and still is, because there's 3 other betting firms that are still very active now and have taken advantage of the big wigs being removed from the market, and it's becoming a very serious addiction, especially to the youth out there, that should actually worry.
3/4 of the youth now are on blacklist. because you have to borrow on the phone to bet.
One of our viewers here, called Corr, it's nice to see you. It's been a while. He's saying that the president did a good job by dismissing, but I don't think many are happy. It took much time, and those workers need to be charged in court. Same mistakes and negligence is still a topic at the Likoni ferry. Every passenger needs a life jacket, no overloading, and standby rescue team. Why can the government not build a bridge? I think the bridge cannot be built because it's a channel that
it's a channel that passes the ship to the other side of Kalindini port. Yes.
So it can't. But there's a time we're having a conversation here and you said back in London there's a bridge that opens up.
Yes.
Even others.
The London Bridge.
But I don't think we are there yet.
London Bridge, there is another bridge. What is it? Next to London Bridge. This bridge, whenever I come here, it gets lost.
Yes.
London Bridge and the Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge in London opens. And we are spending money eating it. You know, we can organize one bridge that can open for particular time. Another contractor in Kampala went in Uganda, the second bridge on River Nile. After 6 months, it started peeling off the tarmac. Then you know rollies are going to roll into the Nile.
That beautiful bridge.
Yes. Museveni doesn't joke. Called the contractor and he thought he was coming to meet.
That nice bridge we're talking about.
Exactly.
At the beginning of the year.
Yes.
What happened?
It started peeling off.
Which contractor is this that is putting people's lives in danger?
You know, with another good thing with Museveni.
Yes. He takes action.
He takes action. He called the contractor to come to a state house for discussion. He did not go back. He was taken to military barracks. No court was allowed to see him. That's also needed. A PS like this one of sports. If there's rule of law here, and you see, the rule of law is good, but they told you, those who teach political science say, too much of democracy destroyed Rome. Why was that saying? Why? All of us have become comrades. Hello, comrade. Hello, comrade. Huh? When Mozambique took power from the Portuguese, the biggest problem of Mozambicans was to call each other comrades. They spent 4 years calling each other comrades. That everybody, even a doctor, was called comrade.
Even in South Africa, I think. It's a Southern Africa thing.
Yes, comrade.
Even in Zimbabwe.
So Samora Machel said, how long are we going to call ourselves comrades?
Yes.
Because we were in the war, we had a gun together. We wanted to transfer the communist style of comrades. So Kenya is becoming a comradely state where everybody, because he goes to sit at a function with new dress, new what, they are there. Comrade. While sports girls, netballers, a PS has not authorized. And if you look at this problem of the Ministry of Sports, do you know what you might discover there? Is one person did not endorse the money. Might not have signed the money for it to be released. Because he might have been hurrying quickly to run towards Kipchoge's flight. You know, everybody was running towards there.
The one he went to receive.
You know, that's the time these guys went down there.
During the Mashujaa Day celebration.
Exactly. Okay. The other week. It's the week. So the PS might have been still hanging around Europe to collect a few blouses and so on and the shirts.
During the Ineos challenge?
Yes.
That much time? They've been that long in the South Africa?
Yeah.
Not even this weekend?
No, they went. They were now coming back.
It was a tournament?
Yes. Okay. They were coming back now.
So, and then they realized...
You know, they had to go early and acclimatize themselves.
Wow.
And now it came to time to leave.
And they can't leave. Because the bills have not been paid. So
if you can check properly, we might find, I will put down my feelers by Monday. You will have the research on what was the real problem. An underground tunnel, yes. Another thing that we can do is an underground tunnel. Nicholas Munturi is correct. Mm-hmm. We can put an underground tunnel in the Indian Ocean.
At the Likoni
yes.
tunnel. Mm-hmm.
That's a short distance. It's not a long distance.
Yeah, it's actually very
It's
short.
a very short distance.
Compared to
other
tunnels.
To the tunnel that we hammer between Britain and not Folkestone, between Kent mm-hmm. and across in France, Calais. Mm-hmm. Calais. By the time the train reaches there, my heart is almost here. Because, imagine that whole Atlantic Ocean, one drop. Mm-hmm. If it dropped, all of us, this side, that side, you see the amount of water that will be brought.
Even the thought of it is just making me want to say no to underground tunnel when you're describing it like that. But I am sure they can employ such technology.
Yeah, but you can imagine.
But that will require...
This is a long tunnel.
Yes.
It takes 30 minutes by big plane to cross, or 25 minutes. But takes you how many hours, About an hour and a half. You are underwater.
No.
Atlantic Ocean. So you imagine. Here we are. Thank you very much. Is it a nation angry with itself mm-hmm. or has corruption overridden mm-hmm. the morals that we see in Kenya?
Mm-hmm. And I think at this time, majority of Kenyans are just, I think you've become very complacent because you see these cases every day and then you see these people are arrested, taken to court, nothing is done to them, they're given bonds, they're out, they don't get to serve term, they don't get to get, the punishment that comes with it. So I think over time, Kenyans have become like, so what? Even if we hear such news, so what? Nothing will be done to them. So I think in that essence, Kenyans have become very, they don't want to get involved like that. So that could explain perhaps the anger you see in Kenyans, especially when some of the things they hope should be working for them in the public sector does not. You'll understand where the anger is coming from, because even the people who caught doing wrong and looting from the public, nothing much is done to them. The courts, before you know it, these people are out with bond and very lenient terms. So Kenyans sometimes they don't see the point. So what? What will be done?
Have we reached a state of giving up?
I think a lot of Kenyans have. And the leadership and, the devolution and with the counties, that brought in another, the one thing that was very much devolved, that has been successfully devolved, is corruption and mismanagement. And so that has gone down to the roots. So, devolution was supposed to be bringing the services closer to the people, but it seems to not be working very well. And so Kenyans are just wondering, now what? So if this was supposed to be working for us and making sure that the services come closer to us, but that is not what is true on the ground. So what are we left with now?
I think tears.
So we'll understand why Kenyans are actually angry when it comes to certain things. So when we see a moment like what was happening with Kipchoge there, that is the moment where our spirits are a bit lifted and we're happy for once for being Kenyans. But the rest of the times we're struggling, but we still love our country. So
no, but let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. Why are we always happy when Kipchoge wins, and we are not happy mm-hmm. when we have retreated back home?
Because that is the
Miriam,
moment.
Tell me, maybe I miss a point here.
That is the point. As
it's a nation.
I'm like, that is the point. We actually put all our stupidity and foolishness aside, and we become Kenyans for once.
For that hour.
We don't think Kipchoge is from this tribe. Or, that is the time we put all the foolishness, that makes us kill each other every 5 years. That is the time we become very Kenyans. We become very patriotic. So I wish we could have, I don't know, maybe it's the leaderships that we've been having throughout the country, and I don't know the kind of political dynamics dynamics and with all these chaotic things that we experience in this country. But if we could have something that unifies us all, so let's just wait for that BBI report. Perhaps it will have the cure for this. To instill back patriotism.
Can you imagine the BBI report is already being wounded when people have not seen it?
The content.
The BBI report, to me, even I have not seen any, but I know from the 9 points, you can tell it is a redemption strategy, a strategy to change things, a strategy to change Kenya, so that Kenya does not kill each other. Kenyans don't kill each other during elections. After elections, we have a lot. There is a letter that I have sent to Stephen, written by one serious engineer who has actually dismantled this thing of SGR being non-profit making organization. So Stephen will bring it up as we take a break, and then you come back with your African news, which I'm waiting to shoot down.
Zimbabweans today are actually protesting against the sanctions. So
the sanctions.
So we will talk about that.
So I am part of those who have organized around worldwide also. One day, 0 day today. It's an international day for sanctions to be removed on Zimbabwe.
Yes, indeed. And Masisi won the elections. I don't know what Kama will do this time.
Masisi won. Now you are bringing these good things. Masisi won. I think Kama might be forced to go to the military and overthrow him.
And Nkurunziza's wife released a song. So let's just...
About the wife?
The wife.
About the husband?
Nkurunziza's, no, about other things, but we'll look at it and we'll talk about it. And also, Guinea's situation with the protests is also becoming very worrying.
Conde has jailed the leader of opposition. I've just seen it, breaking news somewhere.
Yes, indeed.
Meanwhile, in Sudan, they want to hand it over Omar Bashir.
They want to hand him over
to the ICC.
While you were away, Doctor, I think about 2 weeks ago, I think I was talking about this with our viewers, and I was saying that could be because the US, there have been pressure for them to remove Sudan at the blacklist.
From the sanction list.
But they could be using this as a carrot. They could be dangling this. We can't do this until you
hand over. Yes, you are right. But when they take Bashir, the case of Bashir will collapse on the evidence that I gave of $17 million, which was used by Ocampo. That case is as good as done. So Bashir should not even worry. The only thing is that they want to lock Bashir away from the current Sudan. You can see what they are doing is they have gone in now to tell the NGOs to start fresh demonstrations.
And was it I don't know, is it a coincidence the other day when the protesters were protesting, I think over the weekend, and their main demand was for the party that Bashir held for all these years, for it to be
disbanded. It's against political suicide.
What is the point?
You can't dismantle a party which has got its members.
Yeah.
Unless they say they ban all political parties.
So who is behind this banning?
The West.
Political parties.
Yesterday we didn't complete our show because it was becoming hot.
Yes, and then you had
but somebody from electricity board switched us off. I think somebody has aimed at us when we are becoming hot, switches off. But don't worry, we shall get, by next month, we shall have transformers. What are they called?
I think there was a problem.
Generators.
Well, I was leaving after the show. I think they were fixing somewhere. I think there was just a genuine problem. But
no, there are people who the show was so excellent on South Sudan.
We were talking about South Sudan
because
we had so much to look at.
We left when people were even saying this time we have been bought. You not see that because they expected this time yesterday. We have been doing enough of activism. What we did yesterday is to understand the problem. Why this peace process is not moving forward. So we picked on Salva Kiir as the main key player, as the president of South Sudan. What can he do now to salvage the peace that is there and holding right now? Let's take a break as Miriam brings in more African news. The point we have is Kenya is annoyed with itself because of the amount of corruption. People are fed up. People have given up. Prisoners are being left. You steal today, tomorrow you come back to eat the money. A police corporal constable had 88 million.
What?
With her daughters. Yes.
Oh, yes, the story I was reading
yesterday.
It's actually not here. Yesterday's papers.
Yeah.
That lady with her kids.
It wasn't me, corporal, on the tax charge says. You see?
They're still here. All right.
So we have too many things, and then you see the president here has said battle lines drawn as BBI hits home stretch. You can see that. You see, someone has poisoned the whole system. And about sympathy, Machiavelli, Nikolai, you know another man, Robin Hood of Nottingham,
I've heard of him,
who pretended that he was fighting on behalf of the oppressed. So there are several Robin Hoods here. That's another subject for another day. Let's take a break. Viewers, those listening to this tape or this video, I want to bring to your attention that the politics of proxy wars in Africa is becoming real, and it has become a reality. I want to bring to this the attention of the African states that time and time again we have fallen victims of proxy wars. We fight wars that are not ours. We fall in conflicts that are not supposed to be, don't help Africa, and they don't help our countries at all. The proxy war that is in East and Central and the Horn of Africa has been ignited, supported, equipped by France. It has been very real that the French government quietly through its company called Total Oil has been searching for resources around the triangle of East and Central Africa and the Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. The LAPSET was one of them, which could have been a landmark project for the people of France. They withdrew from it. The Tanga to Mwanza, they made it, they withdrew from it. The search for oil and resources through Total Oil has brought us the dangers of a proxy war in the region. It is therefore very prudent for people of the region to understand the dynamics that we are going through. For example, in Rwanda and the Burundi conflict, there is a proxy war. We are fighting a proxy country. It has brought us to a war between the two countries, between Uganda and Rwanda and Burundi. There is a proxy war in Congo who is sponsoring a resurgence of rebels that are fighting President Tshisekedi because he was not supported by countries that we know very well. This type of strategy has happened in North Africa, where Libya has been reduced to rebels, where each faction, even the government supported by United Nations, is being bombarded by a rebel called Khalifa Haftar, who is funded by countries that we know. The question of Somalia and the Kenyan maritime presents a challenge, a test case for Africa and East Africa to stand firm and denounce the actions of countries that bring proxy wars and proxy politics in our region. It is therefore my humble submission that for this conflict, for this to end, we must do enough publicity, advocacy, around the area to tell and explain to the international community why this problem is going to create an imbalance in the peace in the region, and the regional peace will be affected. It is therefore my humble submission that as a Ugandan whose troops, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers of other many millions Ugandans who are in Somalia, condemn any action by the Somali government to try to resolve issues that should have been resolved amicably as Africans within the African confines. I submit, therefore, that some of us will go a mile further to do now, from now onwards, to expose, to show the challenges of these countries that make us fight a proxy war in Africa. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.
And thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Africa, and we're coming to you all the way from the Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. It is a very bright day here and we're enjoying the good weather. So right now I just want us to go through what's making headlines across Africa, and then we'll have conversations about the different countries. And we'll start with Botswana, where Botswana's President Mokgweetsi Masisi has won a 5-year term in elections, which saw the ruling Botswana Democratic Party secure more than 50% of the seats in Parliament, Chief Justice Terence Ranosware has announced. And then we go to South Sudan, where parties to the revitalized peace agreement agreed in Addis Ababa in May this year that the new government should be established on 12th November is now being at risk. However, opposition leader Dr. Riek Machar and Dr. Lam Akol argue that the security arrangements should first be put in place before the coalition government is formed. Members of the public have also expressed mixed views over the matter. And we go to Zimbabwe, where South Africa has banned Zimbabwe's national airline from using its airport due to unpaid fees. The South African Airport Management Company said Air Zimbabwe's only serviceable plane had been stopped earlier this week from flying into Johannesburg, the company's single international destination. It added that Air Zimbabwe had been warned it will not be allowed back on any South African airport until the outstanding fees were settled. It isn't clear how much money South African authorities are demanding. There has not been any comment from Air Zimbabwe. And still in Zimbabwe, and thousands of Zimbabweans are expected to take part in a protest today to call for an end to sanctions imposed by the United States and European Union, which the government blames for the country's economic problems. The authorities have declared a public holiday today, and hundreds of buses have been dispatched across 10 provinces to bring people to the march in the capital, Harare. U.S. sanctions were imposed in 2002 over alleged human rights abuses in Zimbabwe and seizures of white-owned farms. Hundreds of officials were targeted, including President Emmerson Mnangagwa. The Zimbabwean government says the sanctions have cost the country billions of dollars in lost revenue as it battles shortages of basic supplies such as fuel, power, and water. The US and the AU have both maintained sanctions, citing a lack of progress in democratic and human rights reforms, as well as restrictions on press freedoms. And we go to Congo, where 5 former leaders of a Congolese refugee camp in Rwanda have denied charges of tarnishing the image of Rwandan authorities after they led a mass protest last year which turned deadly. Security forces killed 11 refugees in February 2018 after they signed the local UNHCR offices in the western Kibuye town to protest against reduction of their daily assistance fees. And we go to Guinea, where thousands took to the streets of Guinea on Thursday in the largest of series of protests over a suspected effort by President Alpha Conde to seek a third term that have led to the jailing of dozen opposition campaigners and politicians. Meanwhile, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has waded into political ongoings in the Republic of Guinea, where incumbent Alpha Conde is facing opposition over plans to extend his constitutional mandated term. A statement signed by ECOWAS Commission President Jean-Claude Cassi called on government and opposition elements to employ dialogue to seek solutions to the challenges. And then we go to Burundi, where 4 Burundian journalists and their driver are spending a third day in police detention after being arrested while interviewing residents in the wake of an attack by a rebel group. The employer has said government forces killed 14 rebels and seized 11 guns in Tuesday's attack in the northwestern Bumbanza province. The journalist Christian Kamikaze, Agnes, Terence Mpomzenzi, Egide Herendimana, and their driver Alphonse Masabarakazi work for privately owned French-language Iwachu newspaper. And still in Burundi, and Burundi's First Lady Denise Nkurunziza has released a song to campaign against the abuse of women who face what they cannot get, the abuse women face when they cannot get pregnant. The video clip opens with the scene of a wife welcoming the husband home and inviting him to eat dinner, only to be spat on and beaten by the husband over her failure to get pregnant. Very interesting there. And we go to some news from between Africa and Russia ties. And President of Nigeria, Uganda, and Sudan met with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday on the sidelines of the Russia-Africa summit in Sochi. Uganda's Yoweri Museveni extolled Russia for its support in building Uganda's army with Russian equipment. And still in South Sudan, and without... All right, I think I read that earlier. And we go to Biafra, where a Pentecostal cleric, Bishop Abraham Ude of Mount Zion Faith Global Liberation Ministries, on Wednesday said that what Igbos wanted was Biafra and not a presidency. Ude made the disclosure in Niue while reeling out prophecies on Biafra's actualizations, which he alleged was being frustrated by the Hausa Fulani oligarchy. He urged the Igbos to rise up and embrace the pursuit of Biafra actualization, irrespective of their calling or social status. And we go to Cameroon, where the French Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs, Jean-Yves Le Drian, has expressed his country's readiness to accompany a government of Cameroon in its ongoing after a major national dialogue appeasement effort. And Mr. Jean, who is on 48-hour visit to Cameroon, was speaking yesterday at the Unity Palace after over 60 minutes exchange with the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya. It emerged that the discussions the French government, amongst other issues, expressed its readiness to accompany Cameroon in its appeasement efforts, of course, after the national dialogue that took place last month, towards the end of September last month. So that is the latest from Africa this morning. Actually, this afternoon, so thank you so much for joining us. So that a lot is happening. Of course, Dr. Matanga, President Mokgweetsi Masisi is back. So I don't know, Mr. Ian Kama might have to eat his rotten potatoes there. And South Sudan peace, we were talking about it yesterday. We did not get to finish this conversation, but it was getting very nice. So perhaps you could just go through it quickly, and then we look at other matters in Zimbabwe, the protest that is happening there today.
Yeah, first of all, let's look at Botswana. A stable democracy, changing government without violence, changing government without uprisings, protests. It finds itself at crossroads today. It is the same syndrome that I've been saying around Africa. That is, they have taken a step towards regime change. What is paining now is my fellow Africans don't see this thing coming. And I've been predicting this coming. A regime change is here. You like it or not. Regime changes in Africa are put in such a manner that every election there is bound to be a crisis. And that crisis is manufactured by the same people who would like to dismantle the monopoly of Botswana. Botswana was governed by more or less a clan, from Hama, Masire, all of these are men from one of the areas, the class that started from a military training bases to hard-working civil servants who went to University of London School of Economics, South Africa, the Rands, this, that. So now this class is slowly being dismantled. Why? The new oppressor is telling Botswana that you are about to take away what has been holding us together. What was it? The diamonds. Botswana boasted to be one of the countries without corruption. Rampant corruption has returned. There are cases of corruption in Botswana which you never used to hear about. Botswana boasted as a democratic state. Arrests, detentions have returned. Who is bringing this? It's the the CIA branch of the American George Soros. They have pumped in a lot of NGO money now in Botswana. That NGO money seems to have picked everybody on board. Don't forget, Botswana's population is about 5 million people. They are easily manageable. It's like in Norway. In Norway, when they sentence you in court, they ask you, when will you come to serve your sentence? Can you do it in Kenya? No. The man will never come back.
They will not come
He will change the color through plastic surgery and walk near the same court every year, but he will not come.
And get a new identification card. Yes.
In Norway, once they sent, the judge says, okay, you are found guilty. So they give you time. When will you come? 2020 to start your sentence. You go and arrange yourself, arrange your family, do what you want. You can even drink every day a full truck of beer. Then after that, surrender yourself to the custodians who will put you serve your sentence and finish. It's impossible. Why Botswana was able to move as a united country is because of the population. Now, the population of Botswana seems to have grown. And the more people have now come in from outside with new ideas that, we are being... Remember, Botswana is the only country, is another country in Africa which has legalized the homosexual activities, lesbian and gay rights. So the society is not the same.
It's quite different.
It's different from the society
the rest of
where Masire was, where Kama was, where Mohaye was, now Masisi. Now Kama wants to retain the father's status quo. It's too late.
It's too late. It's very too late there. So just we just talk something about South Sudan before we get to Zimbabwe and what is happening there today, because I think you've been very part and parcel of what is happening today in Zimbabwe. So without establishment of a new government next month, the humanitarian situation could worsen in South Sudan, the World Food Programme has said.
Last night we talked about it. The whole peace process was done wrongly. Time has come for the people of Africa to rethink about dismantling the entire peace process mechanism, start afresh. Postponement of making government of national unity cannot help the South Sudan anymore.
It has
Either they make it and start moving together, mobilizing the troops, or not. So it is indeed a bad exercise for South Sudan. The war will go on, the war will injure it.
It can't keep being postponed. It's not Brexit. Brexit can be postponed and it's okay because there's structures, there are proper structures there in the UK, so it's quite a different situation here in South Sudan. And of course, opposition leader Dr. Riek Machar and Dr. Lam Akol have argued that security arrangements must be put in place first. And Doctor, I don't know if I know you've been following the events at Brexit. Maybe we'll talk about it towards the end of the show. But let's now talk about Zimbabwe. Now they could be seeking for an extension of another term until January 31st. There in Brexit, possibilities.
The whole mistake, I voted for staying. I voted for staying in European Union. Because Britain is not yet ready. The wife we have had was a very good wife for almost 30 so years. Now to divorce this wife overnight, when we go and remember the good things that she gave us, she did for us.
With no good reason at all.
With no good reason.
Yes.
So people are going to get the second chance to vote to stay or not. I don't see if Boris moves out without a deal, someone will go to court, and it looks like the House of Lords is already made a point somewhere that we are not going to allow you, man. You know, he might be the shortest serving prime minister in the history of
the prime ministers in
Britain. So nobody in Britain with no more sense wants to leave European Union because we are not ready. You look at when I went to Britain in 1987, the water was free.
The water was free?
Yes, the water in the house was free. People used not to pay for water. It was free. Now, every water in
Britain.
Yes, only commercial entities used to pay for water. But for us, everybody, you shower, you can relax, you can shower again 200 times. Now, the water in Britain is not free. There is a bill, water bill, which you have to pay. And the mechanism is very simple. If it is by midday, you don't pay, you will see no drop coming in your pipe, in your house. The water now, you pay. We used to stay since 1987 up to 2 years ago, no, 1 year ago, is when the water in the part of London where I've stayed, in Croydon, is when the water we started paying. We used not to pay water.
At all.
Thames Water used to give us free water. Now Thames Water is charging us water. That shows to you the whole trend of economics worldwide. Things are moving towards new resources to be found. The metros took our resources from the south, but they seem to be dry. They are drying up. That's why you see France. In Uganda, there is one point that you have missed. In Uganda, Total Oil is having a very big problem with displacement of people. Our climate, our ecosystems in the Albertine region are being affected by the total oil exploration of oil.
Yes.
And the Ugandans are up in the arms. I was listening to a BBC program last night. They are saying they have displaced us. Total Oil is responsible. They are not compensating us. The same problem is coming. That's why you see France is busy digging itself through other territories. And it has arrived in Somalia. If you are not careful, there will be a proxy war in Somalia. Around, not in Somalia, around this region. A heavy war. A heavy war. In 2 years or so to come, there will be a fight in Indian Ocean.
A fight in Indian Ocean. Now we see that Russia is trying to really gain grounds here in East Africa, particularly and across Africa. And we saw that the president met with the president of Uganda, Sudan, and Nigeria, and other presidents during Russia held a meeting there at Russia-African Summit. So talking about proxy war, it's going to get a little more complex with many players now coming in for the for the second petitioning and of Africa. That is should we worry? Africans?
You should worry. You should worry. Any analyst, any good analyst with a good brain should get worried about what is going on.
What is the interest that they want so much in Africa?
Resources are finished. I've given you a very good example.
It's like a new scramble.
Yes, we used to have no water payments. We are now paying for water. Gas, we used to have high usage but very little payment. The gas bill in London is now 4 times
what it used to be years ago.
Yes. And you charge £10 or £20 on your card. Within a short time, the gas is finished. Power. There are so many things that have changed in Britain that they used not to. It shows to you the dwindling number of resources. So if it comes in a situation where you find ultra-nationalists, like the Johnson Boris, the conservative leader, the current prime minister, he will do everything to dismantle you. He will say that all these people are the ones bringing problems. What is happening in Britain is more or less like a South Africa blacks telling other blacks to leave. Only that in Britain you can't see it. It is not the blacks that are being told to live in Britain. It is the East Europeans from the former Soviet Union who have poured there and they do all the jobs. So British people find themselves with nothing. One, they have bought their cars. For example, we are in Britain, it is known that it's traditionally when your car gets spoiled, you take your car to the garage. The East Europeans from Ukraine, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia, name those small countries that broke away from Russia, Poland. These guys now have bought big vans and they cut it into compartments, plugs, tires, inside one van. And they put the number on the van for rapid mechanic.
They're very industrious.
Yes.
They're
very industrious. For any mechanic, any work, if your car breaks down, call this number.
And they'll come to where you are.
So you who has the property, you are paying rent, and you have a garage with equipment and the people working. Zero. Job is gone. How many of these cars are there? Over 1 million cars of that nature. Car wash. You have a traditional car wash which we used to take to the petrol station when we went to Britain in 80s. That car wash is gone. They are now mobile car wash. They come, they have water, the tank inside the car. They say the car, this £10, wash, dry, valet. They can valet the car. They have Hoover machines, that dry machines. They are very aggressive.
Why can't the local British people, try some of this?
It's like asking me why the South Africans cannot do it.
Cannot do it. You can't blame others for your lack of innovation.
That's the point. Things have changed.
What is happening
so Brexit will end up being repeated. We need to vote
again.
Believe me, 48 to 52 to 51, we are not very far from each other. People need to vote again. We cannot accept. Technology, IT, we depend on the mainland. Medicine is hospital. That Eurotunnel is going to be a hard border now. Whereas if you had a British passport, you go through no problem in all the countries in the European Union. Now there is a hard border even on the Eurotunnel in that water. When you come out in Calais, you must show your passport. You must be either accepted or refused. You can see these are some of the most inconveniencing things that no normal British person would like to go through. Yeah. Next.
All right, so thousands of Zimbabweans are expected to take part in a protest march today to call for an end to sanctions imposed by the United States and European Union, with the government blaming those sanctions for the country's economic problems. So the march is on today, Dr. And I know I've seen posters you've been sending over the countdown.
It is on today, but it has a problem. What do we do with it? That's the problem we have. Sanctions were put on Zimbabwe in 2002. The European Union had removed all the sanctions except on the late Mugabe and the current wife, Amai Mugabe Grace, who still have sanctions on their heads from the European Union. But the rest of the people, the ministers' sanctions were dropped, which were called targeted sanctions. Targeted sanctions are targeting various government individuals. But these are government individuals, Maki, who should go and do some work for the people. So what other people are arguing are they don't have any impact because they are targeting David or Miriam. But they don't know that Miriam in African culture feeds about 50 people indirectly. Your cousin or your nephew, another one comes. For us in Africa,
yes,
we don't have, you have to book before you come. We only arrive. As you are here, as you go back home, you find a relative says, "Hello, Mama, I arrived here, but unfortunately, I'm not able to go back."
Yes, and you can't turn them away.
No.
Yes.
It would be an cultured person who will say, "Go back." I don't know. So you have to bring, even he says, but as soon as you agree, he says, "But I'm not alone." The neighbor friend of ours on the other one.
We were
it's
together.
also together.
Yes.
We are traveling, but we shall be leaving tomorrow. So sanctions in Africa, if you ban one person who supports 1,000 people, if you buy 200 of them, how many people have you banned? Very many. You affect the economy. Employees no longer receive the services of the employer who has been banned. So sanctions have been eating Zimbabwe slowly since 2002. Targeted, the ministers can't travel to conferences where you can make deals and sell. Above all, America says Zimbabwe should not sell its diamonds. Now, what else do they want Zimbabwe to do? What else?
And of course, America earlier this year renewed these sanctions and have extended them until February next year, 2020. They target specific individuals and, of course, companies that Dr. Matsanga has been explaining there. But they had a problem with the former President Robert Mugabe. So people are hoping after Mugabe has gone, there should be some lifting of some of these sanctions that are very much what is really making Zimbabwe's economy be at its knee right now. So why is it that even after President Robert Mugabe left office, they still find the need to insist on these sanctions? Of course, they're saying human rights, record has not really improved there in the democratic space. So in the name of whatever it is that they want, and I don't know, does Mr. Mnangagwa even have a way here to work through these sanctions? Because people have been calling for them to be lifted, but they don't care much. Instead, they actually renewed the sanctions, especially for the US.
You see, the United States of America is using several channels to either strangulate you or kill you or make you politically cause a revolution. You can imagine there are so many people calling that if there are people demonstrating in Harare, we turn this into a call for Mnangagwa too. to leave power. So it could be utilized in so many ways.
So many ways.
But the biggest problem that Zimbabwe has is it doesn't learn from the intelligence gathered. They don't utilize that intelligence. So how long they will sustain this campaign, only God knows.
Only God knows, and we'll see if that will have any effect. And if at all it will make some of these sanctions being lifted, we'll bring you the latest. And now ECOWAS has added its voice in what is happening in Guinea.
But it is happening all over Africa.
President Alpha Conde, yes.
It's happening all over Africa. So is everybody going to add a voice? Let's agree on this thing. Africa does not need elections. No.
Instead, what should we do?
Just sit down and to gawane ichitu. Say Raila ruled 3 years and Ruto 3 years. Finish. There's no need of subjecting people to
elections.
Yeah. Let Kenyans or Ugandans, for us, we have had a president for 34 years. While Tanzania has removed 4 or changed 4. So, look, why should you fight for the president to change when the man was determined? He even determined to change his age limit. You know? So you leave it to God. You know what? There are things in this world that I, David, now, where I've reached, I don't want to push them any further. I leave it to God to push for me. You get my point? A man goes and tells people to change the term limit of a president. So, don't you think it is suicide for you to oppose such a person who has actually said, I am now 76, but boss, don't touch me. So he is telling you, he has told you the truth. You get my point? So you leave. He goes and removes term limit, which means after 2 terms, you are weak. Your brain does not function like the brain functioning when you are hot. You go home and start looking after the cows, writing books, enjoying your grandchildren. But the guy removes it. Conde
Wants
in Guinea
to do that.
wants another term. So if you cross his path, he will kill you. Okay? You go to Uganda now and you say you saw the people who opposed the term limit. You saw what was happening in the parliament. People fighting with metals like this. Metal. What for? I have been lived in a democracy that votes even when you are in a toilet. You can, as you are going to the toilet, you pull out your ballot and give to your wife, put in an envelope and put in the post. It will reach. You would have voted a government.
And it will count.
And it will count. So why should I go to fight and kill myself and they take out my eye? When God did not, God is the one who gave me these eyes to see properly. Why should I fight against God? The whole of Africa is changing this constitution. You see? Maybe the only countries that will be left will be very few.
Okay.
Like Kenya.
Tanzania.
But you don't know. You can't know.
Well,
the way people are
acting now.
The way people are annoyed with themselves. They could come up tomorrow to say, no.
We are not leaving.
We are not leaving. You cannot stop.
But for President Uhuru Kenyatta,
President Uhuru Kenyatta will leave.
He just wants to do.
But there can come a leader.
Yes, it's very possible.
There can come a leader. We are manufacturing leaders. You can see them. Some have poisoned the public against Uhuru Kenyatta. I swear, it is real bad. It is the public against President Uhuru Kenyatta. When you say something of the name of President Uhuru Kenyatta on social media, they want you to sing the name of Ruto. Ruto. If you write that Ruto, you are very good. Hey! They will give you, 2,000 likes. But you write the name of Uhuru Kenyatta. They will call you fat man, big man, hippo. They call me a hippo. Someone called me a hippo this morning. That when is this hippo returning home? Because of just supporting Uhuru Kenyatta and because of supporting redemption strategy. So there is something that is not right. So the entire Africa is moving towards those directions. And where we are jostling here for a conflict, the Kenya one is jostling for, believe me or not, if we don't put our feet down, Miriam, we are going for a conflict.
So what is a safeguard for the people of these different African countries who are experiencing these very interesting times in terms of politics?
You know,
how can we cushion ourselves?
Can I tell you? Jesus saw this. Jesus saw this when he was preaching. And when the disciples came to ask him, that, sir, it is getting late. But the people seem to be increasing in numbers. But the worst thing is they have not eaten. And we don't have a lot of food on us. What did Jesus answer?
Don't turn them away.
Don't turn them away.
Yes.
Have trust. All what President Uhuru Kenyatta needs to say today, don't worry. In the next remaining 2 years, have trust with me. I will leave this country united. Those who don't want to unite, get out. Either there are two options: go to the bush, because that's where some people are planning.
Which bush?
They're fighting bush.
Which ones in Kenya?
No, the way things look like.
They go assemble there.
Yeah, the way you can't you weigh the temperature? I'm weighing the temperature. I'm seeing the temperature. People are pretending. You are with the president today, and you say, Your Excellency, my role is just, you are very good man, very good. As soon as the president leaves, someone has come to shoot him from behind. Say, we know the BBI is bringing parliamentary system. The biggest problem of this country called Kenya, which is political, do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? It's elections. And the biggest cure for that election is a proportional representation. That's why now the MPs from Mount Kenya are jittery. Because when we talk about proportional representation, some people might not see parliament. And it has cured all the problems of South Africa.
It has.
Proportional representation cures all the stupid problems of ethnicity. Malema is in parliament as a member of EEF, but EFF. But he is responsible nationally. We want a system that can elect people who are responsible for Kajiado, even when he is a member of Webuye constituency.
Is that the same sort of political arrangement in Botswana? Because
yes,
they voted that nobody's fighting.
No,
it's a new deal.
It's over. The deal is over.
Oh my goodness!
Because Botswana uses proportional representation.
It does.
It is over.
As soon as it was established, he has enough members of parliament.
Yes,
he continued.
He continues. He forms a government
quickly.
That's what people want.
No petition,
now here,
no protest.
Someone has seen if we go that route, he won't get there. And he has screwed the members now. That's why you see a minister caught up in camera. If I were President Uhuru Kenyatta, I come back from Sochi, this one should not be near my parliament. Should not come to State House to meet me. if I were him. That's what the leadership is. These guys too, they sat in Sarova Hotel. I was there, and my purpose was to monitor them. No, not to monitor them, but I watched how 5 good hours in a corner discussing how they were going to plot to remove, to dismember Kenyatta in Mount Kenya with Raila Odinga. The people who are opposed to the BBI don't tell you any reason why they are opposed, but they just tell you one reason. Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
I'm being called names because they want me to call Raila Odinga names. I can't. I see the light of a unit of purpose in this country. If that unit of purpose can be there and it can be grown, if it comes through BPI, so be it. So the best thing we are waiting, release this thing and tuchomane na watu. Tuende mutu kwa mutu, umundu kwa mundu. Because some of these guys think that they can threaten us or MP. None of these MP will come back. These ones, they can't come back. A new dimension is going to sweep. You will see. Don't you see a rush for making sure that everybody knows? Tell lies. I am the marginalized man. I have been put in the corner because everybody says I've stolen, but I've never stolen anything. There's that saying everybody is running to say I'm not. But time will come when even these other people also join to start a fight. Then you will know the sweetness. So the younger generation on Facebook and Twitter who are injuring people's character and insulting people, they will see a change in position. Thank you. I don't know what.
I think on that note, we just leave it there. We don't dilute that. So we thank your viewers. We see here Francis Chan, you're saying Africa must help itself by ending the senseless war which takes innocent lives daily. That is very true. Gerald Chilatam, you're saying you're watching live from Italy and you are Biafran, and you're saying Biafra is our only hope. So there's a conversation here we were having, Dr. while you were away, and some people came out to say, one of the parliamentarians there in Nigeria came out to say that the only solution for Biafra is to make sure that they stop talking about Biafra wanting a country called Biafra, is to make sure that in the next elections they have an able presidency.
They can. If they all voted, they are the biggest they can have.
But Biafrans don't want to
no.
They don't want that.
They want a state.
They want a state.
Yeah.
Yes, and so today I was reading the news of a bishop there, Abraham Ude, who came out and said, no, Igbos, they don't want the presidency, they want the Biafra country. So
yeah,
that's
true.
it. Yeah. All right. And
that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, viewers. Until Sunday. God bless you. Sunday, 2 p.m. Africa Showdown. It is long since we did that show.
It is. It's been a while.
So we shall come with new stories and perhaps with new smiling faces ourselves. We would go for now. We want to thank you very much, myself and Miriam, for the tenacity and the fastness that we have conducted ourselves. We have tried our level best to make sure that Africa stands out, Kenya stands out, Kenya improves, and that is what we are here for. On behalf of Punchline Africa TV, we say ciao. economy is cursed because we have a bad leadership running the treasury of the people of Zimbabwe. President Emerson Mnangagwa should have picked a person who understands the political, social, economic apparatus of what the economy of Zimbabwe needs. President Emerson Mnangagwa would have been able to walk out of this quagmire of the economy by picking a leader, a person who is able to manage the economy. The current Minister of Finance is a parrot of George Soros, Brent Woods institutions. He cannot run the economy. A person who always talks of hiked prices, hiked percentage, hiked fuel, cannot help you in a struggle where regime change is near the doorsteps. President Emerson Mnangagwa, dear brother, time has come to change the direction. The Zimbabwe economy is the Waterloo of the government of Zimbabwe. It is important, therefore, for us to do what we call fatigue evaluation. Is there a need for fatigue evaluation? Is the system moving forward? Is there an investment that is coming as it was, as people were willing to come with investment? It is very shocking at this age that America is piling pressure and sanctions on Zimbabwe, that the same American people, through a proxy, send one to be the chairman of Zimbabwe Reserve Bank, or the Central Bank of Zimbabwe. I want to ask, what is this that we Africans get confused when it comes to the direction of our own policies? Here is a country that has hammered sanctions, and here we are. We have got their own native coming to manage our and micromanage our finances to find out why we went wrong. But then he's not going to tell America to remove sanctions before he manages the same place. Are we cursed? I believe the people of Zimbabwe, I believe the president will look at this and review the appointment of Mr. Mark Holzman. Mr. Mark Holzman can be very good in Rwanda, but cannot be very good in Zimbabwe. He will bring you the mobs and the millions of people on the streets of Harare if you allow him to run your economy or your finances. Thank you.